Welcome to Tea for Me, Please. Joining me today is Denny and James from TDB. Thank you guys for taking your time twice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, hey.
So for starters, how did you get interested in tea?
You should start because you got into it first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so we're in Seattle, and growing up, my mom was always interested in loose leaf tea. There's a neighborhood called Queen Anne, and there was a really great tea place called the Teacup. And so she would go there and get very fancy scented de Montfrères loose leaf tea, and I always thought it was the coolest place ever. And I would get really expensive Earl Grey tea and drink it with way too much milk and sugar as a little kid, but I loved it. I thought it was kind of fun. And then James and I ended up meeting up and working on a business together, and we ended up working in sort of the downtown district of Seattle, and we would be able to go to the international district for free on the bus, and I always kind of just wandered around wasting precious time, and there was this really great tea shop called Seattle Best Tea, and the owner, Lydia, was extremely persuasive at getting me to stay and buy way more tea than I ever wanted to.
Yeah, some very long lunch breaks.
And so she kind of introduced me to high mountain Taiwanese oolong teas, and it's been kind of it was sort of a dabbling experience for a little while, and then it kind of got into more of a serious thing where I started to really enjoy it. And then I think that James has his own story, but James's interest definitely piqued my interest as well. So, James?
Yeah. I mean, my story overlaps a lot with Denny's, but I'm half Chinese, so I grew up drinking a lot of Chinese with my Chinese side of my family and stuff, but it's always like bad Chinese restaurant tea, so jasmine, bad Wuyi oolongs and stuff like that. But once Denny started to get into tea, he bought a couple things to the office and stuff. I was like, what is this? What's he wasting all our precious company money on? So I started to drink it too, and then it's been all downhill since then, literally. So and we kind of spurred each other on.
Yeah.
So I've been a fan of your YouTube show for a while now. You're actually way ahead of me on episodes. You just did episode 37?
That sounds right, yeah. We just filmed episode 43, so we're way ahead of ourselves, too.
Wow, that's impressive. I wish I was that far ahead. And so I know you just did a series on Dayuling?
Yeah, the Tony Origin Tea episodes, yeah, that's right.
And so what are you guys steeping now, actually?
So right here, we actually just did an episode on this, episode 30 or 42
and 43.
And so
episode 42 right here, and episode 43 right here.
And so the first one I just poured is just a Dong Ding. So
from Eco Cha.
Yeah.
So I think you drink. I know you're a fan of theirs too.
Definitely, yeah. They have some really great high mountain oolongs.
Yeah, and this Dong Ding is quite nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so I know when we had our technical difficulties last time, we did get a question. Adam, who has his own YouTube channel where he does some pretty cool videos. So
yeah, I know Adam. Yeah.
But Adam wanted to know what video editing software you recommend.
So I do most of the video editing, but I know Denny and I actually use the same program because we both kind of dabble. But we use Adobe Premiere Pro. I've been dabbling in kind of editing and stuff like that for like 5 or 6 years now, and it's just been always what I use, being a Windows user and stuff, so works well.
Definitely. That's actually the same program I use.
Yeah.
Definitely better than my old Windows Movie Maker Mod Podge.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And just to interject a little bit of a story about TDB and its origins, we were thinking of stuff we could do in our free time that would be fun, that was sort of tea-related, because we run a company together. That's our business, is that we run a website company together. And James had the idea of something tea related, and we kind of both agreed that maybe something like a YouTube channel would be cool because there's a lot of great content on YouTube, but it can be hard to understand, or it can be just simply in Chinese. And so we decided that we would do 16 episodes of TDB only. And if we thought people liked it, and if we thought vendors were interested in it, then we would keep on doing it. And it was a breeze, and we had a great time doing it. And so as a result, we are on episode 40-something or other. So it's definitely been kind of a labor of love and something that's been a fun project for us to do, and not as much about a job or anything like that. So
yeah, absolutely. It's definitely more of a passion project for us.
Yeah.
Definitely, and I've had that with my own videos. It's really just a chance to get to talk to really cool tea people and share their stories, where they might not ordinarily get seen by some of my readers.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so, is there any particular tea that you guys find a favorite? I know you do a lot of different teas on your show.
James?
Well, I mean, I have a feeling this is similar for a lot of tea people, but I definitely go through phases. So the winter in Seattle, I'm sure it's kind of like the winter in New York in some respects. It's just very dark and dreary and cold. So I drink a lot of ripe pu'er and wuis these days. But summertime, I'll be right back on that high mountain tea. So a lot of it is seasonal for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. A handful of my favorites, a good Baozong, a good Oriental Beauty, are some of my favorites. I've been drinking a Taiwanese wui from Floating Leaves that I really enjoy. This time of year, ripe pu'er is for whatever reason just tasty. I feel like I could drink it any time of the day. And I made an enormous purchase from Yunnan Sourcing of black tea, and I've just been making my way through that laboriously. So, yeah.
When I first started blogging in general, there were a lot of people doing YouTube videos and doing really cool, innovative things, and it seems like a lot of those people really aren't around anymore. So it's really great to see people like you guys and Adam that are kind of bringing tea back to video. It seems like it was a format that people kind of forgot about for a little bit.
Yeah, well, and I think tea is such a visual experience and such a social experience from my perspective. And don't get me wrong, I love to have tea by myself and enjoy my own cup of tea. But I think it's best shared. And, the advent of YouTube and video streaming technology like this,
HD videos, and just,
makes it very easy and fun. So I think it'd be a very different thing if it was a really, really, really big time investment for us. I think it would be a different project, but at least as it stands, it's been a fun thing to do that hasn't been much of a headache at all.
Where do you guys see tea going in the U.S. in the future? It seems like a lot of people here are really just starting to discover tea.
Go ahead, James. It's a big question.
That's a huge question. I mean, I do not know. I've realized that and I'm sure you can kind of relate, we're kind of strange people in the sense that we really go after tea. So I have a hard time understanding what like the Starbucks coffee user is going to eventually do down the line, and just because I have no idea. So I don't know. I'm not sure if I could answer that question, but I mean, I really do hope that high quality loose leaf tea does take off. Teavana does a lot in that respect. I never buy Teavana tea, so I don't want to speak too poorly or well of them. But yeah.
It's an interesting topic. I think the more that we're going to see folks concerned about health, the more that we'll see tea being advertised as a health supplement.
Yeah. Which is good and bad.
It's good and bad. I think mostly good. If people can get into tea because they know that it's healthy, and then they realize there's a whole world of tea to enjoy, I think that's a good thing. And in that regard, I think Teavana is a good thing. Now, does that mean that everyone is that high mountain, fairly expensive oolong teas are going to explode in the United States? I doubt it.
Yeah.
I doubt it. We don't have a very rich culture or rich history of connoisseurship, although we do have a fairly rich history of tea, believe it or not. But it's so hard to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably have to kind of look at coffee or wine and just look at the trajectories that those industries took. And I don't know enough about those to really speak to them, but I guess maybe there's like a big Teavana becomes Starbucks, but some people move on from Teavana to really, really cool teas. I could see that happening.
Yeah. There's a simple fact of the matter that there's an availability issue where now more than ever tea and high quality tea is being imported here, and so the more exposure people are going to get to it, the more likely folks will be interested. But it's going to take a specific type of person. It's going to take a type of person that's going to be invested in paying attention to their food that they're eating, as well as the tea that they drink, as well as anything they consume. And so I think in that regard, it's not something that's going to sweep the nation per se. But I think that there's only an upward trajectory for tea in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely agree with you on that. I've just started working a few months ago at a traditional Chinese tea house in the middle of New York City, and it seems like a thing that's so out of place, but it actually seems to be something that people have really embraced and they're really interested in.
Yeah, I was sorry to interrupt. I was gonna say that's kind of amazing from what I know about New York specifically is that storefront space and sitting space in New York is wildly expensive. So for a model like a tea shop to work in New York, I think says something about tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely does. And so, I know you guys are, working, turning out videos and, tasting lots of teas. Are there any plans that you might have in the future for TDB?
Well, I'd love to go to Taiwan. I don't know about James.
Yeah, of course.
I'd love to go to Taiwan and frolic in the mountains. But that, I don't know how that. We had someone comment on the blog stating that we should do a Kickstarter for that. I'm not sure we can just get a Kickstarter to go to vacation, but that'd be cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, feel free to PayPal me. No.
Yeah.
But in terms of TDB, I think one of our focuses has been enjoyment. So we want to really enjoy the process and what we do. And to that degree, I don't think we're as invested in monetizing or growing a business as we are as growing a fun project and seeing the project through. So to that degree, I think wherever the evolution of TDB goes, I think it'll be from a place of sort of joy and exposing more people to tea.
Yeah. We do have the labs and the kind of intro series.
Yeah, why don't you speak to that for a second?
Yeah, so we've had a couple requests to like experiment a little bit with the format, like with our Da Yuling 104K. I think we used that really, really powerful brewing method that I think Adam's used before too. And we had some requests to do kind of brewing experiments side by side, see what that would look like if you brew maybe a less good tea than Tony's Da Yuling, and just seeing how good or most likely bad it could turn out. So doing stuff like that, I think, is definitely kind of in the near future for TDB.
Mm-hmm.
I also had somebody had asked, for somebody that's really just become interested in tea, like just discovered loose leaf tea, what do you think the best way is for them to get started?
Drinking tea and doing so with people that are good at brewing tea, actually. I think there's something to be said for wasting an hour of your life, quote unquote, wasting, in front of at a tea house with someone who's been brewing tea for 20 years.
Yep.
And they'll tell you the same stuff every time you go, over and over again. Half of it's not true, but it's not. You're there to watch and experience the mastery that has gone into really paying attention to tea for a while. So I'd say that there's a sort of a learning method of watching and learning.
Especially if you're in like a city with a Chinatown or something like that, you can usually find a tea shop. We're in Seattle, so we have plenty of them.
Yeah, and besides getting a basic setup of a gaiwan and a plate, so that if you spill, you spill on a plate, and some tea, I'd say that going for a big bulk order of something relatively affordable but good quality, and then really learning how to brew that one tea well.
Yep. Tea is a very, very affordable luxury, so you could get some very, very good tea for really, really not very much money at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, too, is to invite your friends and family and anyone and everyone who's interested in trying tea with you to share it. And having sort of a shared experience, I think, really is one of the big parts of enjoying tea.
I definitely think that holds true. I wind up sharing a lot of the samples that I received through the blog with friends and coworkers, and to the point where they almost demand, like, why haven't you given me tea lately? But it is a really great way to kind of share that experience with others. Awesome. Well, I really want to thank you guys for taking the time to talk to me and tell, my viewers about TDB. And is just before we go, is there anything else that you wanted to share?
Check us out online, tdb.org, and my kind of overall message with the whole project is just to encourage folks to go out and drink more tea. So,
yep.
To that degree, cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Nicole.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Nicole.
Yeah.